VR. This week I convinced my office to let me go to a PSFK, it's like a research group, VR kind of State of the Union thing. I think they called it a VR debriefing. This was pretty much a thing, I guess they do this for all sorts of different industries, where they just kind of let whoever's there know what the status of a certain technology or something is. So in this case it was them going through architecture and art and video games and entertainment and travel and hospitality and medicine and all those different things, and talking about how VR is being used in these different industries. Very useful for me because, of course, I love interdisciplinary design and finding ways to use stuff that's happening in one discipline over in another. And so it was really cool to see some of the stuff going on. I honestly was most excited about surprise, surprise, the video game kind of stuff, and not for the reasons you'd think. Like, I've been keeping pretty close tabs on the way things like the Oculus Rift are being used to develop new video games. I was not aware of what it was being done for video game arcades. Like, remember those places, you know, you go in and you put a coin in, you play a game. We used to spend a lot of time at Barcade in Brooklyn doing just that. But the new generation of video game arcades seem to be a cross between like laser tag and those. Like, you go into these places and you put on not just goggles, but like a whole haptic vest, and you'll have objects which are primarily there to give you the weight of certain other things. So it's a trailer, and I don't know how far along this technology is right now, but these are going to be like laser tag arenas where, you know, you might be holding up a wooden block and it's a lamp, and you have the goggles on, and you're actually walking through a space and touching the walls, and you might feel mist or things wet or things hot. And so everything is meant to enhance the sensation that you're actually in this virtual space, which is amazing, and it looks incredible. It's called the Void. Check that out. The real interesting thing, and I could go very quickly and say, you know, there's some cool stuff happening with travel, real estate, being able to look at houses before you buy them, actually walk around in them. A lot of stuff with live action VR, which I guess I shouldn't be surprised is kind of overtaking VR in terms of, you know, I guess usability. It requires a lot less programming. You don't have to do any 3D stuff. You pretty much just requires someone who understands how a camera works, and then it's an enhanced way to show off those kinds of things. Anyway, when the event was over, there was a group there showcasing some stuff that they were doing. I unfortunately cannot remember their name right now, but I got to chat with them after, and a couple things caught my eye about what they were doing. I mean, they're totally focused on live action VR. They showed some goggles that they'd gotten from a company called Goggle Tech, which is great because these are little goggles. I'll probably bring them next week so you can see them, that look like eyeglasses, and you can just put them on a phone and hold it up, and you still see your nose and the phone and all the stuff that helps with motion sickness. You're not in like a black box, and yeah, you just get a VR sensation while still being very much aware of the real world, which in some ways is kind of more comforting, and it's great because it really easily attaches to any phone. There's a real elegance to the design. You'll see more of that again when I show it to you, but it's great. They're foldable. They can be in your pocket. Again, it blows me away that with all the cardboard devices that have been designed so far, none of them are foldable and still containing a button that allows you to tap things. This is totally fine that doesn't have a button because you just have the glasses, so you can just touch the screen. Really simple. So that's really great. So I saw that, and then I ended up talking to these guys about, you know, the stuff I do with theaters and all that, and they say, oh, you'd be really interested in what we're doing. And I said, what? They said, have you heard of tickets.com? And the moment they said that, I'm like, oh no, I know what they're going to say. And so they basically did the live action version of what my idea was for an app, which would be a way to decide what seats you were going to purchase in a theater. So you might be deciding, okay, here's a $50 seat, here's a $70 seat, here's a $30 seat that's an obstructed view. Which seat do I want to get? And rather than just picking that based on a floor plan or a couple pictures, you'd actually be able to drop into the space with VR, look around, you know, lean a little bit, see like, oh, you know, there's a column there. How much is it actually in my way? And you can actually adjust that and you know, make decisions about if that's actually a seat that's worth the money. If there's a $40 difference between this seat and this seat, it's nice to be able to actually see if the difference is worth $40 to you, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I actually got a call from the TV show Shark Tank, which I'd never really watched before. This is totally on recommendation from my dad. I emailed them back in January with this idea for an app, and they actually called me back this past week, and I haven't actually gotten to talk to them yet. They left a message on my machine. I called them back, left a message on their machine. They called me back, and I left them another message. It's been a big game of phone tag so far, but that was the pitch I made, was for an app that helps you choose seats through VR on your phone. And these guys are doing that, but they're doing that with live action, actual cameras, which in some ways, to be frank, makes more sense. That way, you know, you can trust it more. I think some people, if you show them a VR version of a theater, they might be a little bit, I don't know if this is actually a real representation of the space, whereas if you can actually sit and feel like you're actually in the real space, that makes a lot more sense. So that's what they're doing. They're going through the actual theaters, taking VR pictures at all these different seats and allowing you to pick seats that way. That being said, because, you know, even though I don't know much about Shark Tank, it would be cool to have an opportunity to be on that show if they actually are calling me back because they're interested in having me pitch something. So, totally unrelated to VR, I do think it would be kind of interesting if I do get to talk to them and explain that my idea has kind of already been implemented and it's being used well. If I were to pitch Rum Run, so we're kind of going into board games a little bit, if I were to pitch Rum Run as one iteration of a board game that is meant to be tailor-made for any kind of game player, because the thing that people keep telling me about Rum Run, which they appreciate, is the fact that it spans the gambit from totally abstract, you know, chess and checkers kind of, I mean, in this case, dominoes and mancala, strategy thinking, and then all the way to all the optional elements you can add, which makes it feel much more narrative and chance-based, and all. It's really kind of a buffet, if you will, of different styles of gameplay that you can use to customize to whatever you like. And so I thought it'd be kind of fun to pitch this as one stage of what the game could ultimately be. You know, there's obviously room for an app version. There's all sorts of different themes you could graft onto it. I don't want to say similarly to Monopoly, but similarly to the way Monopoly has taken kind of the base mechanics and had 1,000 different versions of that. Like, it doesn't have to be rum running. It could be, you know, candy farming, all sorts of things. So, you know, who knows? Just for fun, it would be really cool based on the positive response Rum Run has gotten to pitch that as something that could be expanded upon and grow to other industries. So we'll see how that goes, but the VR stuff is going really well. I finally sent out everything on Mac, so Mac is working steadily, although I'm getting some weird baking problems. I hope to solve that. I think that's a GI calculation clearing problem. We'll see. But yeah, everything's going well. I really like the way the apps are looking. I really like these new goggles. I hope everything with the new laptop works out at my office for further Oculus stuff. We'll see. That's it for now. VR.